Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Going into Scump's final season in the Call of Duty League, he's rated Warzone 2 as not being particularly good so far, but also Octane giving his perspective on who the softest team is in the CDL, throwing a couple of shots the way of Lamar, Accuracy and Seattle. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really helps out the channel. Thanks very much indeed for doing that. When we did look at this video yesterday, right, with Nubsy doing this running race up against FaZe here, which was just absolute comedy to be honest. And well, Rokkr put this together. So this is basically the tier list of who's going to get dusted by Nubsy in a foot race versus who is getting dusted. And this is the tier list they put together here. So it's kind of tough to say like who actually would be the fastest pro. Like, what do you guys think? Who's the fastest pro? Because up here, these are apparently getting dusted by Nubsy. So I mean, yeah, like I feel like, I don't know. I'm just kind of looking at the athletes. Bance is tall. He's a good like 6'3" probably. So I don't know, like obviously for sprinters, generally they're a bit shorter because they're explosive out of the blocks, but in terms of top speed, like you probably want the longer legs, so I don't really know what I'm saying anymore, but maybe Bance would be kind of fast. I feel like Envoy should be pretty quick as well. I don't know if that's completely faded, but I don't know. I feel like he's got that kind of athletic vibe going on there, and these are close wins for Nubsy. Apparently this is a toss-up between these guys. Close loss. I feel like they've just randomized these. I have no idea how this is even meant to be aligned properly, and but these are apparently, according to Minnesota's tier list, the fastest pros in the league. These are Nubsy is getting dusted by these guys. So accuracy, attach, CleanX. We got Major Maniac here as well. I guess he's got that kind of advantage out of the blocks. Kismet's here. Like Pred is probably a good shout, as like Pred's got to be I know he played like football and stuff as well, so he's got to be quick. So yeah, I don't know, Slasher and Spart as well. So I have no idea really how they've come up with this tier list, but yeah, intrigued to your thoughts. Who do you reckon the fastest pro is if they had to do a race, which I think would be good entertainment. CDL, if you're watching, definitely take note of that one for Raleigh Major 1. Quick note as well here, because slowly they might be fixing the Game Infinity Ward. We saw earlier today some key concerns about private matches and all this type of stuff. So they've apparently fixed the social tabs now, so you can actually access your friends list nowadays. So congratulations to Infinity Ward. I know that this new update for Warzone 2 and everything pretty much, you know, broke everything with the game, and this might have been one of them, even though this might have been broken for quite some time. So now apparently it works again. So I guess they're slowly getting through the list of things to fix. We're hoping the private match bug will be fixed sooner rather than later. Interesting discussion here as well between Hitch and TJ Halley, kind of talking about what would happen if the CDL wasn't around. Like, what would it mean for MLG, for Cold War, for example? Because with the pros have just said, you know what, if the CDL didn't exist, why are we playing Vanguard and Modern Warfare 2? Let's just run it back on Cold War again and just do that for 3 years in a row, which, you know, might have been the better way to do it. I don't know what the pros would have decided if it was actually their choice and they could decide and they weren't kind of, you know, bound to the CDL, let's say. TJ, though, disagrees. He doesn't like Cold War at all. He reckons the game was terrible. They had to add Black Ops 2 maps to make it playable. And even as TJ reckons this season in Modern Warfare 2, he doesn't mind it. He says, I'll take these maps though. We got true boots. Maybe implying to a certain degree that TJ and the Vegas guys are pretty confident with the state of the game right now and the way they're playing. But yeah, an interesting take I thought from TJ, saying that, you know, Cold War was terrible. They had to use Black Ops 2 maps to make it good. But he actually doesn't mind this year's map set. So hopefully we get Crown Raceway back after Major 1, because that has certainly been the talking point. Let's talk Warzone real quick, because I know that Dashy and the others have been playing it because they can't really play scrims the last couple of days because there is nothing really to do over there. The game doesn't work at the moment. Now, Scump gave his review of Warzone 2. I haven't really watched too much action of this, to be honest, so far, but I know that Scump was not particularly impressed so far. He gives it like a 4 out of 10, which isn't really the best rating in the world. It might and probably should get better over time, but it's definitely an interesting one for Scump's future, just because obviously his idea is to retire at the end of the season, play Warzone, play other stuff that he enjoys playing. But if he's not really feeling Warzone, like, you know, will he think, you know what, maybe I'll stick around one more year?
Welcome back, folks. Chat, so far, I'm not gonna lie. After playing duos, I'm giving Warzone, like, dude, I don't even know right now. Like, dude, I don't even know what I would give it right now. I mean, we might be talking, I don't know, maybe like Yeah, maybe like a 4.
If I were to put my texture res on low, would it
So it's highly unlikely that Scump is going to not enjoy Warzone and therefore decide, you know what, competing is just too much fun. I'm gonna keep going for another year. But if Warzone is terrible and that was his like main plan of things to play after he retires, then you know, will he do that? Will he do something else? I don't really know. Others do enjoy it though. Like Crim6 really enjoys it. He actually says I thought was interesting here. I've enjoyed Warzone more than multiplayer since day 2 of Verdansk back in 2020, and this was a talking point he had not long ago where his kind of teammates on Dallas Empire were telling him, look, Crim, you've got to stop playing Warzone and start actually focusing here on the CDL because you're playing too much of it and it's holding you back individually. And maybe like there was a part of that reasoning in why he retired, because obviously he wanted to stick around to a certain extent. But I wonder if there was a certain degree too, was like, you know what, I've actually kind of had enough of multiplayer with Jill. I'd prefer to play Warzone and do the content stuff, which is seemingly what he's enjoying doing. So differing reviews so far. Dashy, of course, said it's pretty mid Warzone 2, and other reviews haven't also been quite so good. But Scump doesn't seem to be fully on board either, which might have some further implications down the line. Let's dive into then some pretty spicy stuff from Octane in terms of who the softest team might be. We've got to figure out, it's tough to figure out who the best teams are, what the power ranking list should be. I'll see Benjay and Nassim's power rankings here in a second because they've kind of been based on what we've seen in Scrum so far and are probably relatively accurate in terms of who are the favourites for the tournament. But yeah, going into this season, who's the best team, but also who is the worst team that's expected to be good? Octane was asked the question in his chat, what does he think about, you know, teams and players that if you told them they were bad, or if you said that they weren't very good or whatever, like which teams would get particularly angry about that? And he reckons that Lamar and the accuracy right over at Seattle Surge might be one of those guys. And even just to mention, I thought it was pretty cool because 100 Thieves had done their own Hall of Fame here, stacking trophies since the beginning. So they introduced a few players to their Hall of Fame, not just from, of course, back in the Black Ops 4 days, but also through to the present day with Los Angeles Thieves, part of 100 Thieves. And yeah, Octane was kind of inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's pretty cool stuff. Kenny was as well. We'll see here in a second. But these are Octane's words on the softest pro team.
Which team would get the most upset about you calling them the worst team? That is a very interesting question. I don't know. Who would be who's soft? That's what you're asking me. Is who is soft to be mad enough about my opinion on their team? Let's say Seattle for memes. Let's say Seattle just for that TacticalRab content, bro. There you go. I gotta say Seattle. Lamar would be so big. Lamar would get tied for no reason. That's free.
So what do you guys think about this, right? It was an interesting question. I was trying to think along with it when I first saw this come and think, okay, who actually is the pro team that would get most annoyed if you said they were the worst? Not necessarily they are the worst or they are near the bottom of the rankings, but like if you said they were bad, who would get annoyed about that? And maybe Seattle is a decent call there. Like he reckons that accuracy wouldn't be the happiest man in the world if he said that his team was bad. Like I think also Vegas maybe came to mind a little bit. I do wonder if you said Vegas were terrible, like whether they would clap back a bit on Twitter and stuff like that, if Twitter even still exists. So yeah, what do you guys think? Which other teams fall into this surge category? I'm kind of more interested though in not necessarily the softness power rankings, although that would also be kind of interesting, but how good are these teams actually going to be? Because it doesn't necessarily matter so much which teams are good and people say they're bad and get angry about it. It's more like what results are they actually delivering. And this is the power rankings that Benjay Nassim came up with. So we have seen some scrum results such as the ones we just saw, right? And look, we haven't seen Surge play any scrims since this on, what is this, the 6th of November, right? So a long time ago till I've actually seen anything happen in terms of scrims. This is OpTic versus Surge, 7-3 in favour of OpTic here, but Surge looked pretty good early on. I think the first couple of days Surge looked really good, and then after that they kind of seemed to fall off a little bit, but we have no idea what's happened over the last 2 weeks, of course. But I think many people are expecting that it's a possibility this season that Surge aren't quite as competitive this year as they were last year, right? They had a great season last year with that roster of 4, and I don't know if it's going to be a Minnesota Rokkr type situation this year, because I still think Predator's going to be fantastic, but you guys remember Minnesota Rokkr at the end of Cold War? They won that event at Major 5. They went into the off-season after coming like top 3 or top 4 at Champs, and you know, I think a lot of people saw that Rokkr team and thought, you know what, there are some upgrades to be made here, there are some changes that you might want to consider, but they thought, you know what, we've just won an event and come top 3, like we don't want to change our team, because they also won an event at Major 3, slightly before Champs, and then they came 3rd at Champs, right, Seattle? So yeah, potentially a similar story there, where a team that does very well at the end of one season, goes in with no changes, and the reality is they're not quite as good this time around, or the rest of the teams are just now more competitive, because if you don't make any moves, you do run the risk of other teams upgrading and yourselves not upgrading, let's just say. So yeah, how good will Seattle be? I think that they've still got some great potential there, like Pred, if he's as good as last year, the team's obviously still going to be scary. Mack at times was up and down last season, so if you can get some more consistency, that'd be good. This game probably suits accuracy better than last year's game, so, and Sib is still going to be Sib, you'd imagine. So, like, on paper, they shouldn't be worse, but it's a question that is there to be raised, given other teams making some upgrades, let's say, around them. And this is the list then that Ben comes up with. So he reckons Sunday regulars, he's got the top 3 being FaZe, Thieves, and OpTic. This is based on, like, his understanding, but also what he's heard of what's going on in scrims. I think he's been asking around certain teams how they've been faring, not just what we have actually seen publicly the last couple of weeks. Then he puts potential contenders, 5 teams in here. This, I think, is understandable. And that missing pieces, still got London and Florida. Work to do is Vegas. And then Guerrillas are the team that joins them there, which I think makes sense. But it is quite interesting, right, to think about the fact that probably Vegas are understandably in work to do, certainly on their comms and chemistry and stuff like this. I think there's still some questions there. Whether they're contenders to win a championship yet, I think it's probably a little bit early to say. But probably on this tier list, you need to have one team that joins them in that category and work to do. And he's chosen LA Guerrillas out of the other options. You might think of Boston or a New York in there, but he reckons New York have been looking very good. I don't believe this is in order. This is just basically putting them into tiers. So he's not really saying that Boston are the 4th best team, but he's saying they're in that category with the potential to actually, maybe even win something, which would be quite impressive. Like, I'm not sure, I'd quite put Boston in there yet, but I guess potential contenders is maybe about right for a team like Boston. And yes, the New York Subliners, Minnesota Rokkr, Seattle Surge, and the Toronto Ultra as well. So he's got kind of a clear-cut top 8 here with, Vegas and LA Guerrillas trying to fight their way in. So what do you guys think about that? And also, if you told these players and teams that they're in the missing pieces or they're in the work to do, like, at which team would get most annoyed? I think that Paul X, in fairness, individually the last couple of weeks, if people have said, oh, they got 8-0'd in scrims or something about Minnesota Rokkr, and he was coming back at them on Twitter and stuff like this. So, who knows, right? But I thought it was a kind of funny conversation. The softest CDL team in the league right now. And just as we talked about Octane, right, it's kind of confirmation here from 100 Thieves that indeed, welcome to the Hall of Fame Kenny. So Kenny's going to join up as well. So pretty cool stuff. I thought it was good because these guys, of course, did some great things, not just back in 2019 for Black Ops 4 originally with the 100 Thieves team, but also this past season as well in LA Thieves, winning the World Championship in Major 4. So totally deserving, I think. And just to take this Hall of Fame discussion one step further here from Brian Stats, he put together his own Hall of Fame if the CDL were to kind of do their own one. Now, this is just based on players that have now retired, so he's not considering Scump here yet because, like, Scump obviously will be here and probably should be here anyway, but he's just considering players that have now stepped away and retired. Now, the CDL, I don't know how much they really consider pre-CDL action. Like, I don't know, Aches has kind of implied that the CDL pretty much pretend that the pre-CDL CWL and even before that doesn't even exist. So I don't know how much they would consider the likes of Big T and Rambo and even like TP and stuff from way back in the day. But I think this is a pretty good list. Crim's obviously got to be there, formal. Like, I don't know how many people you really have in a Hall of Fame. To me, it's Crim, it's Nadeshot, it's, Clay and Scump when they retire, formal as well. Karma for sure. Big T, I think you've got to throw in. Aches as well, I think you've got to throw in. JCab, I think you probably have to throw in. I would even probably want to put Killer in there just because, like, what a legend he was to the sea, but I'm not really sure how you kind of discuss who should be in the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, probably a pretty long list in COD, but maybe they should try and trim it down a bit. I don't know. They probably won't do it anyway. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.